Good morning, distinguished guests. Thank you for joining us. My name is Chidima Udogo, and I'm your host for today. Welcome to today's pivotal webinar themed Enhancing Special Economic Zones Competitiveness for under the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, the AfCFTA. Today's webinar is organized by the Nigeria Economic Zones Association in collaboration with the AfCFTA Nigeria Coordination Office. For those who are new, the Nigeria Economic Zones Association is the umbrella union for SEZs. Our role is to advocate and collaborate for the success of SEZs in Nigeria. Today's dialogue is especially timely as Nigeria advances its AfCFTA tariff liberalization. In fact, it's been a very eventful year. Several institutions are collaborating and have collaborated to leverage special economic zones for implementation of this very monumental agreement. This includes regional communities, development partners, private sector, and government. In fact, in April, Djibouti government held a regional meeting reaffirming the transformative role of special economic zones across Africa. So over the next 90 minutes, we will unpack how Nigerian SEZs can leverage this monumental agreement and look into the opportunities through actionable insights and ideas from our very esteemed speakers. So without further ado, let's dive in. To begin, I'm honored to invite Mr. Sheni Edu, Chairman Program Subcommittee of Nigeria Economic Zones Association. Mr. Edu is also a seasoned leader in Special Economic Zones operations. He is the Managing Director of Eco Support Services and has been at the forefront of SEZ advocacy in Nigeria. Mr. Edu, the floor is yours, sir.
Good morning, everybody. And thank you for joining us today. It's a real pleasure to welcome you to this important conversation, Enhancing Special Economic Zones, Competitiveness under AfCFTA. On behalf of the Nigerian Economic Zone Association, I want to extend a warm welcome to all our distinguished guests, partners, and stakeholders. A special recognition to the MD of NEPSA, Dr. Olufemi Ogunyemi, the MD of Oil and Gas Free Zone Association, Mr. Bamanga Usman Jada, members of the National Economic Zone Association Board, all our colleagues and operators within the Nigerian Economic Zone Association community. We're grateful to have you all here. Now, why are we here? The African Continental Free Trade Area, as many of us know, is the most ambitious trade project this continent has ever undertaken. And it's moving fast. Within Nigeria's tariff liberalization schedule, now submitted, the spotlight is squarely on how we align, how are we to ensure our special economic zones aren't just part of the conversation, but central to it. This webinar arises from a deliberate commitment to revisit the critical discussions that could not hold during the third annual. Our goal today is not just to catch up, but to move forward by deepening our understanding of the AfCFTA special economic zone interface, identify and unlocking trade and investment potential through better coordination and readiness. Today is about making that alignment real. Special economic zones, by design, are meant to drive exports, attract investments, and stimulate industrial growth. But for us to fully tap into the AfCFTA's promise, access to a vast integrated African market, we need to ask the right questions. Are our zones ready? Do we have the policy clarity, the infrastructure, the coordination? This webinar is a space to explore those questions together with honesty and focus. We're also fortunate to be hearing from Dr. Olusegun Awolowo today, and we'll also have time for discussion and exchange. Please lean in, share your views, listen, ask questions. The goal here isn't just to talk, it's to move forward with shared insights and practical direction. Once again, I want to thank the National Economic Zone Association secretariats, our partners at NEPS and OGFZA, and all of you here today for your commitment to strengthen Nigeria's place in the Asian, a meaningful step towards more competitive. Thank you very much. Let's get started. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Edu, for that very warm welcome and the context. It is now my pleasure to invite Mr. Toyin Bede, the Executive Secretary of Nigeria Economic Zones Association, to deliver the opening remarks. Under his leadership, the association has strengthened partnerships with several key stakeholders. Mr. Libede, sir, the floor is yours.
Sorry, I think I wasn't. Are you hearing me now?
Very well, sir. Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Sorry. I said, let me join Mr. Chinedu in welcoming everybody to this important webinar. As he said, we are here to explore how the African continental free trade area can unlock new opportunities for special economic zones in Nigeria, and how these zones can be made competitive in the AfCFTA landscape. As you all know, the AfCFTA can be a game changer for Africa's economy, and it has the potential to transform the continent's trade landscape. You agree with me that with the Nigerian tax bill being promulgated into law, free zone companies in Nigeria now have an option to access new markets and tap into the vast consumer base of the African continent by developing regional value chains and integrating local suppliers and manufacturers into the broader African market. However, the question still remains: how can the Nigerian government, through targeted incentives and infrastructure development, substantially increase the competitiveness of Nigerian special economic zone companies in the African market? Well, in today's webinar, we will explore the intersection of AfCFTA and the special economic zones and discuss how they can work together to create a more competitive and resilient African economy. We will hear from the experts from the Nigerian office of the AfCFTA. Unfortunately, Mr. Segun Awolowo will not be able to attend, but he has sent a good representative in the person of Frank Achimogu, who is coordinating the implementation of these policies and strategies. And then we get our insights on the challenges and opportunities ahead. We are privileged to have the Chief Executive Officer of NEZA, Dr. Femi Ogunyemi, a council member of the World Free Zone Organization, and also Alhaji Usman Jada, the CEO of the Oil and Gas Free Zone Authority. Their insights will be valuable to explore how special economic zones in Nigeria can be competitive within the AfCFTA framework. There will also be an interactive Q&A session when participants can ask questions on areas requiring clarification. The chairman board of the NEZA Association, Chief Nabil Saleh, will round up the session with his closing remarks. So once more, I join Mr. Sheni Edu in welcoming you to this important webinar. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sir Elibede, for that brilliant opening. You have highlighted the entire agenda, and I think everyone is aware now of what will follow in the next few minutes. It is now my pleasure and honor to invite the Managing Director and CEO of the Nigeria Export Processing Zones Authority, Dr. Olufemi Ogunyemi, to deliver a goodwill message. NEBZA's regulatory guidance is especially critical to the success of special economic zones in Nigeria, and especially for leveraging the AfCFTA. Dr. Sa, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good morning. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear, sir.
Okay. Good morning, esteemed guests, members of NEZA, and my colleague, the MD of OGEVZA. I welcome you to today's meeting on leveraging, let me put the video on, that's better. On leveraging special economic zones to unlock the full potential of the African Continental Free Trade Area, the agreement. I might sound a bit flat. I just returned from an international speaking engagement yesterday, and I'm actually about to get on the road now to the airport. I'll continue in the meeting, but there may be some noise if I have to speak because I'll be on the way to the airport to catch a flight. But as we gather here today, let's recognize the immense opportunities that the AfCFTA presents for Nigeria's economic transformation. By the creation of a single unified market, we can boost intra-African trade, attract investment, and foster economic growth in our country. You, the special economic zones, you play a critical role in this endeavor. You serve as catalysts for our industrialization, job creation, and export diversification. I'm sure after listening to Mr. Chief Tony Elegbede's agenda for today, I'm sure we'll be exploring strategies to optimize special economic zones in Nigeria to ensure that we become hubs for innovation, entrepreneurship, and sustainable development. My opinion about the AfCFTA agreement that I've expressed when I've spoken abroad, it's a huge area with a huge market. And to be honest, the implementation of the agreement has been a bit slow. Some areas still have tariffs. Some areas have proposed a reduction in their tariffs with a sunset period of years, 5 years, 10 years. And I have been suggesting that perhaps it would be better for regional integration first before one tries to explore the whole market. That is, let the West African Trade Area, ECOWAS, the Economic Community of West African States, let's get this agreement, the AfCFTA agreement, integrated in that region well first. Same with the East African Community and the Central and South African Community, as well as the Northern communities. If the regional areas can integrate after first, and then start exploring the other regions. It's a huge area. As far as I know, it's much bigger than the EU when they opened up globalization and started something similar like a couple of decades ago. And as we go through today's agenda, I might want to refer you, I'm sure most of you, if not all of you will know already, that AZO, the African Economic Zone Organization, came out with a policy brief. When was this? I think it was February or March or April 2023. And the policy brief was a statement and recommendation of AZO Technical Committee on the AfCFTA regulations on special economic zones. It might be worthwhile keeping this in the background of our discussions today. Again, I welcome all of you. Chairman, Chief Nabil Saleh, I think you're present. Chief Elegbede, Chidima, everybody, all the members of the SEZ community, and of course, my good friend, the MD of OGEVZA. I look forward to our discussions and insights today, and I'm confident that together we can harness the power of the AfCFTA agreement and special economic zones to build a prosperous Nigeria. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for your strong support, and thank you for reaffirming your guidance on this course. I actually echo what you said about the AfCFTA being the biggest FTA when fully implemented, and the references you've pointed out from the AZO community is well noted and should also be a part of this great discussion. Thank you so much, sir. We recognize the presence of Alhaji Bamanga Usman Jada, who is the MD CEO of the Oil and Gas Free Zones Authority. He's here with us, but would not be available to give a goodwill message. Before our speakers disappear, because Dr. Ogunyemi already said he would have a busy morning, I kindly invite everyone to turn on their videos so that we could have a group photo. Thank you very much. Yeah, best to get everyone's best angle before the day breaks us. Okay, yes. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. It is now my pleasure to invite Franca Achimogo, who is the National Strategy and Planning Coordinator, ably representing Dr. Olusegun Awolowo, to give her presentation on today's theme. Franca, the floor is yours. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you, Chidima. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for having me this morning. I am just really hoping that you can hear me because I'm in transit. On my way to the island. I just got to Lagos from Abuja for a meeting. So I would just be sharing a few thoughts that we have for the Association for the Free Zone. Sorry, I don't know what they call your association. Okay, Nigeria Economic Zones Association. I'll just be sharing a few thoughts with you on the AfCFTA. I will be sharing my screen now. Can everyone hear me?
We can hear you, but we can't.
Yes, I'm trying to share my screen.
Okay.
So my presentation this morning is in two parts. The first part is on the opportunities that we see for the AfCFTA. And then the second part is on trying to understand the principles for the treatment of goods under the AfCFTA as released by the Council of Ministers of the state parties signed up to the AfCFTA. So don't know why this is taking too long. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Okay, you can see this. You can see my slides.
Yes, please.
Okay, so like I said, the first part of my presentation is on the product and market opportunities for the AfCFTA, and the second part is on understanding the principles of the treatment of goods from special economic zones under the AfCFTA. And the objectives basically for this presentation is to highlight the market access opportunities for businesses under the AfCFTA and to explain how goods from SEZs are treated within the AfCFTA framework. And then thirdly, to discuss how SEZ operators can position their zones and enterprises to benefit from intra-African trade opportunities under the AfCFTA. Now, for the AfCFTA, I don't know if you can see that slide clearly. I don't know why I didn't make the text a different color. But basically for us, this was the criteria that we used to identify the products of opportunities under the AfCFTA. Now, we're not saying that outside, the list that we have come up with, there are no other products that have opportunities. We're just saying that, based on this criteria that we were able to define, these are the products that have a lot of opportunities under the AfCFTA. Now we categorize the products under these categories. So we have the arrowhead products, we have the high potential products, we have the frontier products, and then we have the mid potential products. Now, for the arrowhead products, these are products that Nigeria exports in excess of $10 million annually, and Africa imports in excess of $1 billion annually. So basically, we are now trying to find out, where is the market in Africa for these goods? We are trying to identify goods, yes, but where exactly would the goods be going to in Africa? We're not just, trying to pick just products randomly. What are the products that have needs that are needed in Africa? Those are the products that we're looking for. And beyond that, these are products that Africa needs, yes, but does Nigeria already export these products? Yes. So, but what then is the volume exported from Nigeria to Africa? So that's the category, this category, arrowheads. Nigeria exports in excess of $10 million annually, and Africa imports from other parts of the world in excess of $1 billion. Now we have the high potential products. The high potential products are products that Nigeria exports $1 million, in excess of $1 million outside of Nigeria. That's between $1 million to $10 million. We have now created a frame for it. And then into Africa, Africa imports less than $1 billion of. So this is the second category. Nigeria is exporting, but not so much of it. But then there is still the market for these products in Africa. The third category is frontier products. These are products where Nigeria exports $1 million of, less than $1 million of, and Africa imports less than $1 billion of. And then the high potential products, Africa imports less than $500 million, more than $500 million. So there is the market, but Nigeria is just not exporting it. We maybe haven't built our capacity to be able to export those products, but Africa sure needs them. Now this, can you see my screen now?
Yes, please, it's very clear.
Okay. So this was the category, sorry, this was the categorization criteria. And if you are probably looking to see, where the market is, or if there is a market for your products in Africa, you can probably use this approach to know if your product is one that Africa needs and where specifically it's going to in Africa. But then this categorization only now applies to the whole of Africa. It does not disaggregate it into the particular markets where these products are needed. So there is like some step further, some, market research, or should I say, some market intelligence, further market intelligence that is needed to break down where specifically these products will be going to in Africa. Now, based on this categorization, these were the number of products, these were the products that we came up with. So there's meat and edible meat offal, dairy produce, cereals, animal or vegetable fats. It's a long list. I would not bore you with it. So on the list here, you will see that, we have miscellaneous edible preparations under arrowheads, and then mineral fuels under arrowheads, fertilizers under arrowheads. That is, Nigeria is currently exporting over $10 million of it, and Africa needs over $1 billion of it. So you can see the table on the right hand side that show where these products belong. Arrowheads, high potential, or frontier products. But then remember, if your product is not on the list, does not mean that there are no opportunities for your products. You just need to be able to, find them through some market intelligence, which I have shown you. I have shared the categorization criteria that can help you in defining where in Africa. So this is all just part of the list of where the categorization of the opportunities. And here we have the specific figures of the opportunities. So it's at the bottom of the list. Polyethylene with a specific gravity. Nigeria exports $26 million of it, and Africa needs about $1.8 billion of it. So that's what you have. It's a list, you just have them, what Africa needs, what Nigeria is exporting, and what Africa needs, and then you can define same for your product. Now, down to services is still about the same thing, but we're talking about the free trade zone, so it is specific to the goods. So I will just move on down to this slide here, talking about the markets where the products should be heading to. Now, based on the categorization that we did, we saw that, Nigeria, we need to focus. There's a lot of opportunity in Nigeria's foundational markets. Just about 11.8% of there's still room to take up the products. 11.8% of it. That's the foundational market, not the focus. But then, when you think about the AfCFTA and looking at the size of Nigeria and its population, you know that there's a latent market for the things that are being produced. So the way you're thinking about exporting products to other parts of Africa is the way other are eyeing Nigeria to send their products to, because there's just latent demand waiting for their products to be taken up. So everybody is thinking about Nigeria. We can also think about Nigeria because there's also markets. There's also some room for our products to be taken up in the Nigerian market. And then core markets. This is the very big part. 50.5%. They hold the share. 50.5% of Africa's market is in this core markets: ECOWAS, South Africa, Egypt, Morocco, Kenya. So basically, if you are going to be looking at your product, the first place you want to look at outside Nigeria where your products can be going to is these markets, the ECOWAS market: South Africa, Egypt, Morocco, and Kenya, because there's economic integration, if you're talking about ECOWAS, so it's a lot easier to move your product, especially with the ECOWAS trade liberalization scheme, the ETLS. It is a lot easier to move your products there. The size and diversity of imports to regional value chain development potential. There's just a number of reasons why. And because, of course, these markets are also well developed and Nigeria can compare in terms of the quality of our products to these places. And then, of course, other African markets. Now, if you are going to be tailoring, the categorization that I spoke about earlier to specific countries, this is what you are going to come up with for a country like Egypt. You will see that, there is a $139.18 million market for shrimps and prawns in Egypt. So if you are somebody who is like, maybe you harvest and package shrimps and prawns, Egypt is somewhere that you want to be looking at. But then another thing you'd also want to consider is on the list of products for liberalization is your product on the list that country has submitted for liberalization. It's something that you want to consider. Another thing you want to look at is what is the MFN rate. The best opportunities are on the 20% MFN rate. What this means is that, if you're importing this product into these countries, what you are required to pay is 20% of duty. But imagine not paying that 20%. So the higher the duty that you are not supposed to pay, the more opportunities. If you're not, so let's say shrimp has 20% MFN, and let's say caramel has maybe 5% MFN. Now, the product with the most opportunity from the angle of a businessman is shrimp, because it has, a greater MFN and is more value that you are not going to be paying, which is supposed to ordinarily transfer into the final cost of the product. So you have to look out for products with higher MFN duties, and then the countries that have the markets that can receive them. So this is just the profile for Egypt. You see where perfumes and toilet water up there, Egypt has a market of $26.4 million of it, and then the MFN duty is 45%. That is if you were to be taking perfumes to a place like Egypt, you will not be paying the 45% duty. And if you're not going to be paying that, that means what should have been the final cost of the product doesn't transfer into the product anymore. And then the product stands a chance to compete price-wise with other products coming from other parts of the world. So basically, if you are going to be thinking about exports to Africa under the AfCFTA, there are a number of things that you should be thinking about. Number one is, where exactly is your product going to? Is there a market for your product there? And then secondly, is your product on the list of liberalized products for that country? And then thirdly, what is the MFN duty rate for that product? Because that would determine, the amount that is going to be shaved off your product at the end of the day under the AfCFTA. So this, brings the first part of my presentation to an end. I will now move on to the second part of the presentation. Now, when the MD of NEZA was speaking earlier on the principles that was released by the ministerial committee on the goods, how to treat goods that come from free trade zones, I was quite happy it was mentioned, because a lot of the responsibilities as contained in the principles rest within the ambit of the regulators. So what I have done in this second part of the presentation is to break down the principles and then the implementation action attached to the principles, so that we can see what is what and who is supposed to do what. I won't go, over all the principles, but if the slides are going to be shared, it's something that you can easily understand. So the first is, in this regulation, the term special economic arrangement of zones is defined in accordance with the definition contained in Annex 2 on rules of origin under the protocol on trading goods. So that particular annex requires, regulations, all regulations of the AfCFTA to be synchronized with state party regulations. So specifically, what this is saying with regards to special economic zones is saying that it should be synchronized or aligned with what the state party holds as the definition of special economic zones. And this rests within the ambit of the regulator, aligning the definition of the special economic zones. Now, state parties may support the establishment and operation of special economic zones for the purpose of accelerating that state parties can, create more economic zones and support their development, whether it is through industrialization initiatives or trade facilitation strategies, but support the development of special economic zones to support, the AfCFTA implementation. And it goes on. Now, I will just mention something that I think pertains to the association. Goods produced in special economic arrangements or zones shall be treated as originating goods, provided that they satisfy the agreed rules of origin. Now, the rules of origin is basically the compliance, the requirements for compliance for goods under the AfCFTA. And this particular principle is just saying, the goods from special economic zones from a state party going into another state party will qualify for treatment under the AfCFTA as long as they pass the AfCFTA rules of origin compliance test. Now, the action here is that the operators of special economic zones have to be sensitized. They even have to know what the rules of origin are. What it means specifically for the AfCFTA. So there's some sensitization and awareness building work there. It rests between the regulator and within the association to let their members know what rules of origin, so that in putting together, manufacturing their products for the AfCFTA market, they're able to comply with these rules. So it goes on and on like that. Number 5 here, when products originating undergo processing or transformation, the competent custom authorities shall issue a new movement certificate. Basically, what this is saying is, for instance, if you have to import an ingredient for your product and then the ingredient comes to you at the special economic zones, the customs needs to be aware of it. So the custom needs to develop a standard operating procedure for how these ingredients that will be used for further manufacturing can be received, and how they can be used so that these products can still qualify, the finished products can still qualify for export under the AfCFTA. And also how a new movement now, it has come in and then still going out, how new movement certificates will be issued to these products for the AfCFTA as they're heading out, leaving the country for the AfCFTA markets. So it just goes on and on and on about what the regulator should do and what the associations, the operators should do. And then I broke it down on this slide, basically how the activities are based on the principles and then the implementation actions. So under regulatory and institutional alignment, there needs to be a joint review by NEZA, OGSA, Customs on the AfCFTA provision. And then the issue and SEZ be a list developed by NEZA and OGSA of the operators under the special economic zones, and that list needs to be communicated to the AfCFTA Secretariat in Ghana, of course, with the notice of the Nigeria AfCFTA Coordination Office to be done. So from the government side, what can government do? What can
I think we lost Franca there.
Sorry, Chidima, what did you say?
I think we lost you for a moment. Your slides went off and your screen went off.
Just give me a minute. All right.
Yes, you're back on.
Yeah. So now this is the most important part down here below, below the screen, where we have what the special economic zones, NEZA, and the operators can do for themselves. Proactively court AfCFTA focused investors, aggregators, and manufacturers. Establish SEZ business development desks that can help tenants register for AfCFTA preferences. Host regular business to business AfCFTA opportunity expos, yes. Invest in certification testing and standardization labs within the SEZs in cases where traceability products require traceability, and then partner with logistics providers for affordable cross-border transport services. My slides will be shared with Chidima. I'm very sorry. It seems like, I'm kind of distracted. I'm just trying to be able to catch up with my other meeting because I have a presentation to make there as well. But this is the end of my presentation. I hope I've been able to make some sense and deliver some value. Thank you very much.
All right, Franca, thank you very much for that brilliant presentation. I think that we were able to follow most of it, and it's been really insightful. Before we move ahead, we had shared on the platform that this is a webinar, and that means that we can only take questions from participants. If any of the speakers would like to come on board, they're welcome to do so. However, we have opened the floor for the Q&A, and all of your questions that have been sent to the Q&A box will be read out. I will begin now with the most popular one, which is if you will have access to the video recording. Yes, we will share the video recording after this webinar to all participants. And if you're not able to receive it, and if you don't receive it, you can email us at info@nigeriaeconomiczones.com. Thank you very much, Franca. So I'll move now to the next question. The question is from Mr. Richard Atigogo, and his question is, using the most favored nation percentage, does that mean all import products under the liberalization list comes at a 0% duty?
Sorry, you need to take that question again. I didn't quite catch that.
So we have a question from Mr. Richard Atigogo. His question is, using the most favored nation percentage, does that mean that all import products under the liberalization list comes at a 0% duty?
No. Right now, no. So I don't know if you're aware. So we have the 90% category A products. That's 90% of your tradable goods under the AfCFTA for each state party. 90% are under category A. So the category A products mean that, from the date where AfCFTA kicked off, practically for implementation, each state party has a period of 5 years to phase out the duty collection. So by the end of 5 years, you would have stopped taking any duty on that product. So you're phasing out the collection of duties. So for instance, if AfCFTA implementation took off 5 years ago, it means that we are on the 5th year for the phase out, and by the end of this year, it's supposed to come to 0%. But I'm not very sure. What I'm not very sure is where is the point where the calculation for practical trade begins from. So we're not very sure. AfCFTA should ordinarily have begun 2021. So if it's based on that calculation, it means that by 2025 now it's at 80% off for category A products, because it's 20% off every year for 5 years. So by the first year, 20% off, it means they're only taking 80% duty. By the second year, 40% off, they're only taking 60%. By the third year, 60% off, they're only taking 40%. By the fourth year, 80% off, they're only taking 20%. By the fifth year, 100% off, they are not taking any more duties on that product, on all category A products, regardless of what the MFN is. But what we're not sure is where the mark is for the actual beginning of trade is, because we know that, you know, it's been all steam and no motion until maybe like 2 years ago.
Well, thank you very much.
I don't know if did I answer that question?
Yeah, I think you'll be left for, I think that you did, and I think that it will be left for Mr. Richard to comment on his question, to say if he has any further question. Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Richard has confirmed that your question answer was very clear and direct to the point. Thank you so much, Franca. The next question is from Francis Ecom. His question is, Mr. Francis is the General Manager of Tinapa Free Zone and Resort. His question is, beyond the video recording, can we hope to get the slides too, and a contact number for further clarification and inquiries? I think I'll be addressing this one. Yes, we will be sharing the video recording again to all participants, and the slides too will be shared. The contact for the association is info@nigeriaeconomiczones.com. Thank you so much. If you have any more questions, please share them in the Q&A box. I will invite now the Executive Secretary to leave his remark on the presentation from the AfCFTA office. Mr. Lebede, sir, the floor is yours. We can't hear you, sir. I think you're still muted.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Loud and clear, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Let me use this opportunity to thank Franca for the brilliant presentation. And all I can say at this point is that the Nigeria Economic Zones Association, we liaise with the free zone authorities, that's NEZA and OXA, as well as AfCFTA, to go through the implementation plan you shared, and then we come up with our own plans and share with you and our members, so that that will be like the way forward. Thank you very much, Franca. I think maybe there may be some more questions. If so,
yes, they are.
I will just plead with Franca to still hold on to answer those questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for that addition. We have a question, Franca, for you from Otuane. Are you still there, Franca? Let me just take the question down here so that So I think that Franca is away at the moment. Mr. Otone, we will take your question up with Franca and send your response to you, if that's okay. I think that we've pretty much covered our agenda for today. If any of our panelists would like to add, I welcome you to do that now before I call the chairman of the Nigeria Economic Zones Association to give his remarks. So if you would like to take the floor, please, you can do that now. Thank you. Okay, I assume there's no final remarks from us, from our panelists. Join me as I welcome now the Chairman of the Board of the Nigeria Economic Zones Association, Chief Nabil Saleh, to give his final remarks. It is our distinct honor to have him. He's also the Managing Director of MSALE FZE. He's a visionary leader with profound impact on Nigeria's industrial and economic landscape. Mr. Nabil Saleh, sir, welcome, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chidima. Good morning. Today's webinar has been brilliant and informative. I wish if we can organize a physical one, because a lot of information, it was cracking. It's very important to have it a physical. Please, I appeal to the Secretariat to prepare a physical program for this AfCFTA. As we conclude, I'd like to thank all our speakers. Dr. Owolowo, National Coordinator, AfCFTA and his team, Madam Franca, and the CEO of NEZA, Dr. Femi Oguyemi, and the CEO of OGZA, Al-Haji Jada, Chairman of Program Subcommittee, Mr. Edu, Executive Secretary for NEZA, Mr. Toyi and his team, our esteemed NEZA members, and all attendees. Thank you so much. We know today is a Monday, it's starting of the week, but we thank all of you people for attendance, and we promise that NEZA team, Board of Directors, and the Secretariat will do our best to do more programs this year and upper years to the benefit of our members. Once again, thank you all for your support, contribution, intervention. Let's keep the conversation going. On behalf of NEZA, I wish you a productive week ahead. Thank you and God bless. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, Chief Saleh, for that remark. And I believe that since we have no more comments from the panelists, it's safe to say that we've had a very productive 60 minutes, which was quite very punctual. And it is now my honor to call this meeting to an end. Thank you so much and have a blessed day.
Thank you. Well done.
Thank you. Have a good day, everybody.